Professor just got destroyed. It normally comes as no surprise when someone says that Obama was caught in yet another lie, and this time will probably be no different. Yet, it is rather entertaining to find out that the right was always, well, right. Again. Obama long tried to convince the country that he was a law professor at some point in his life, and that he was a constitutional scholar. These are obvious lies which is evident to those of us who bother to look into things that may be important to the country's outcome. The left loved throwing that whole constitutional know-it-all thing in our faces while we on the right literally just shook our heads and laughed. The liberals' new craving for what they think is constitutional while literally standing all over anything that is truly constitutional for anyone else is the biggest joke of all, and it all started with this assumption that Obama was telling the truth. The way he often twisted the actual meaning of the Constitution is what has led the left to the ignorant path they are now clumsily staggering down. According to young conservatives, it will come as no surprise, by any stretch of the imagination, that President Obama isn't quite what he's claimed to be during his time in office. Take his claim of being a law professor for example. Yeah, that's not 100% accurate. From American Thinker. Lie 1, Obama was never a professor, he was a lecturer. He did not have the qualifications to be a professor. Obama never published a single law paper. He was hired by the University of Chicago when they learned he had been given a book contract on race and law directly after graduating from Harvard. There was no book, just the contract, which he later reneged on. This is not the normal level of accomplishment for a University of Chicago professor or even lecturer. Obama was not capable of writing, and eventually, after failing to deliver, he changed it to a memoir, which he also struggled with. Finally, he asked Bill Ayers to write his memoir for him, using tapes that Michelle dropped off at the Ayerses. Lie 2, Obama did not specialize in the Constitution. Obama cared about and taught only one subject, race. One course was about race in the Constitution. It is on this flimsy basis that he attempts to pawn himself off as a constitutional scholar. As the New York Times explains, Obama the lecturer taught 3 subjects only, race, rights and gender. Lie 3, Obama calls himself a constitutional law professor to imply that he loves the Constitution. Obama gives the lie to this himself. He is on record, literally, a radio interview done when he was a lecturer, slamming the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution because they never tried to invent a right to redistribute wealth, a failing he describes as a tragedy of the civil rights movement. Obama laments the constraints on government power, what we would call liberty, imposed by our Constitution. Obama himself contrasts following the Constitution with being a community organizer, creating coalitions of power, which could redistribute wealth and create economic justice. It seems the majority of leftists have an issue with telling the truth, desiring to make themselves feel special and more important than they actually are. So what we were thinking all of this time, that Obama didn't know squat about the Constitution despite his claims to be a scholar, was pretty much spot on. It all makes sense now, doesn't it? Interesting how the left never wants to talk about this. Please Obama, kindly keep the lies coming. We need entertainment in a world so depressing and chaotic. There is no better comedy than a man who is so sure of himself by convincing even himself of the very lies that he himself started and promoted. You were a failed writer, a failed scholar, a failed non-existent professor, a failed president, and now you are nothing but the shell of a failed and miserable human being. Amends could be possible, but then again Obama would have to actually tell the truth for once, and I truly think he is inherently incapable of being anything other than a perpetual liar. What a waste of air. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think about this? Share this on Facebook and Twitter along with your comments.